How's it going, everybody? It's Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. This is UFC Vegas 259, most stacked card of the year. Me and my guest, Matt Holt, break the whole thing down from a betting perspective. Check it out at the link below. Head on over to odds.com. Give us a like while you're at it, and have a good week. Good luck on all your betting action. Next up, we've got a light heavyweight fight, Kennedy Nzechukwu, that is a difficult name to say. We'll just call him Kennedy, against Carlos Ulberg. Very, very intriguing fight here to me. Kennedy is 7-1, trains out of Fortis MMA. This dude came in hot. He came in, we were expecting a lot from him. You know, he was vaunted as one of these power strikers, one of these super athletes that Fortis has been putting out recently. And he's been a little underwhelming so far, I guess, in the UFC. He's done what he needed to do, but he has not impressed, and he's fought a relatively low level of competition. He got submitted by my boy Paul Craig, which love to see that. I love Paul Craig. Anytime that guy gets a win, I'm good to go. And then he had a disappointing decision win over Darko Stosic, a guy that's no longer with the organization, and a fight that I think there was an argument he could have lost. Now he's taking on Carlos Ulberg, who is the new hot thing out of City Kickboxing, the newest member to come into the UFC. He's only 5-0 as a professional fighter. And the experience edge you've got to give to Kennedy just because he's been around a whole lot longer. Carlos has a kickboxing background, though, so he's no stranger to combat sports or anything like that. He's a big power striker. My only problem with Carlos is that he swings wild. The hooks that he throws, he leaves his chin wide open, but if he connects, he can bink anybody out of there. And this guy likes to throw spinning attacks, big clinch knees. He's very, very flashy in there. And I honestly feel like Carlos Ulberg is a guy that can pretty much shut down Kennedy on the feet. I don't know that the plodding meat and potatoes, predictable striking of Kennedy is going to be enough to get past Carlos Ulberg here. What do you think, Matt?
I actually have a feeling this one may come out a little bit on fire, but could turn into a little bit of a boring fight. These guys both tend to be a little bit low volume, and they tend to stand around looking at their opponents, looking for one big shot. I will say this, though. Those City Kickboxing guys, for whatever reason, whenever it's Adesanya at the top, and he loves to stack the City Kickboxing guys all the way through, they tend to come out and fire a little more. So I don't know that I want to get in front of Ulberg here. If anything else, it feels like the UFC wants to promote this guy. He's going to be the aggressor in this fight. Let's at least admit this. We know he's probably going to be the aggressor in this fight.
Absolutely. You got to think so. And I've got a good question here in the chat. Do I have a rule on betting 3-0 fighters? No. The rule is try to avoid
usually bet against them.
It is usually bet against them, exactly. The experience edge is something that we always like to factor in and we definitely want to take advantage of. But I'm not impressed with Kennedy. I don't want to line up behind this guy. And the other thing is City Kickboxing is really pumping out some of the best athletes we've ever seen. Matt, I don't know if you recall, but about a year ago at this point, I did a City Kickboxing parlay that at the time paid 7-1 because nobody knew who these boys were. It was the night that Israel Adesanya got the strap put around his waist. And now you can't do that anymore because every single City Kickboxing fighter is minus 250 or higher. You're never going to get a good number on those boys. So I have to respect City Kickboxing. I think Carlos is going to be the harder hitter of the two, and it wouldn't surprise me if he clipped Kennedy with something because that's all he's shown that he can do so far. But at the same time, that wild striking and the lack of experience in the MMA realm, Kennedy might introduce him. You know what I mean? He might end up pinned up against the fence. He might end up on his back in a wrestling match and be in a spot that he just wasn't prepared for in a place that he's never been before. And because of that, because we just don't know what Carlos is going to do outside of that striking realm against an opponent that has more experience than him, I got to pass. It's an unfortunate situation, again, that I'm picking Carlos to win this fight, but I can't bet him at this price tag.
Yeah, me neither. And the Portis guys are good in the clinch, and they tend to be good on the ground. There's a lot of tough ground guys over there. So what happens if, Carlos doesn't get him out of there in the first, couple of minutes, and then all of a sudden it gets a little bit slow and you get back up in the clinch and and gosh forbid it goes to the ground for a few minutes, he could certainly gas out. We've never seen him go long. His Dana White Contender Series fight didn't make it out of the first either, I don't think. The Bruno Silveira fight, I think it was just a couple of minutes. So, yeah, this one's tricky. It's probably going to be a pass for me.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it here on my card because I'm curious what that over looks like here in this fight, because that may
1.5
not be a
over
bad
minus
look.
50.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I saw before I hopped on, was 1.5 rounds over 50.
Okay. That's not so bad. I mean, it's a little pricier than I'd like when you've got guys that throw as hard as these two do.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the look. You know, it might be a spot like the heavyweights the other night where they respect one another's power a little bit too much and they just kind of refuse to engage.
Yeah, that's very possible. Kennedy's kind of that fighter anyway. He looks for that perfect shot.
He does. And that's where I think Carlos is going to probably be the aggressor. He'll be the one willing to bite down and swing first. And that's kind of what concerns me a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.